Welcome back to another My Hero Academia Anime vs. Manga video breaking down Season 7 Episode 16 titled The Chain Thus Far, sharing the same title as Chapter 377. The episode begins with Toga unleashing Infinite Double's Sad Man's Death Parade at the Gunga Villa ruins from the portal in order to kill Hawks and all of the other heroes. Komori from Class B sees the massive wave of twice doubles in an added shot and says they aren't even giving us any breathing shroom, the shroom pun being a play on her quirk, allowing her to grow mushrooms. But right before the portal closes, Ochako comes out saying that she won't lose sight of Toga again. As we see that back on Ukuto Island, Froppy grabs Ochako with her tongue and whips Ochako through the portal along with herself, as she knows her fight with Toga will finally allow her to release the feelings she has inside. Now all in one location, we have Endeavor, Dabi, Toga, Ochako, Hawks, and All For One, which the anime does add Toga when showing all of the main heroes and villains at Gunga, as she was excluded from the manga panel showing them all. Toga sees Ochako and Froppy coming out of the portal. She then exposes some of her face from her twice form and tells Ochako that she isn't some blushing love-struck schoolgirl anymore, and the twice clones overrun the heroes, and Dabi begins burning everything with his flames. Froppy sees Dabi and Kurogiri and hopes that Shoto and Shoji are okay because they were the ones that were supposed to handle Dabi and Kurogiri respectively. Tokoyami and Jiro fly up to the duo, giving them a ride as Froppy notices Jiro's ear injury. Jiro comes to the conclusion that the twice clones are Toga, and Ochako states that all of Japan will be buried unless they stop Toga. Tokoyami points out that all they can do at the moment is flee because of Dabi's flames, and Toga is still multiplying despite the flames being there, stating that this is no longer a proper battle and the strategy to divide and conquer the League has failed. Dabi hovers over Endeavor as he fights off a swarm of twice clones. Endeavor, keeping his eye on his son, notices the purple flames on his chest, realizing that it's the same phosphor move Shoto had invented. He asks Dabi what did he do to Shoto, and Dabi tells his father that he was hoping to bring him Shoto's head, but he was tough and now his grand dream will never come true. But at the very least, he will take as much as he can. Whatever Endeavor holds dear, whatever he tries to protect, Dabi will take it. All For One, seeing it all unfold before him, thinks about how everything is working in his favor. He notes that Kurogiri most likely warped himself to Shigaraki's location, though the most optimal situation for All For One in this moment would have been for him to have been able to steal Warp Gate for himself, since it's superior to his sludge warp. Regardless, the current outcome of chaos will allow him to get to Shigaraki. He then flies off in Shigaraki's direction, but Hawks intercepts All For One with his vibro sword. All For One protects himself with a barrier that shatters, cutting Hawks' forehead and pushing him back. In the manga, it's actually Hawks' vibro sword that shatters into pieces that cuts him. All For One smiles and tells Hawks that he should face up to Twice's dying wish, and Hawks cheekily says that the rewind effect puts him on a timer, but he seems to be in an awful hurry, as if he doesn't have any faith in Shigaraki in that perfect body of his. All For One gets serious, telling Hawks that he has good judgment, as in the truest sense, Shigaraki's body is not yet completed, as the anime shows Shigaraki's armored form in an added shot. He continues saying that there's a reason why this version of him is still essential to completing Shigaraki. Hawks, frightened by All For One's words, yells out to Endeavor, stating that the divide and conquer plan has failed. The heroes can't battle in this heat, and if they fall here, the villains are going to converge on Deku and Shigaraki, and to please put a stop to Toya. When Hawks says this, the anime adds in a shot of Endeavor's eyes widening, as now he is going to have to take up the heart-wrenching task of taking down his own son. All For One tries to play mind games and says Hawks' command was such a cruel thing to ask, that Endeavor's mission was to defeat him, yet Hawks told him to abandon his duty. Hawks plays mind games back on All For One and says that All For One already lost to the #1 hero, so Endeavor isn't isn't abandoning any duty. Dabi heads towards Endeavor as Endeavor overheard the words duty. He stares at his son, and the anime has Endeavor manifest flame wings in reference to Hawks and the support he has from him. And it's also very symbolic as Endeavor, in a sense, represents this type of fallen angel who is on the path of atonement for what he did to his family, and most importantly, Toya, as Endeavor thinks to himself that this time around he really is seeing Toya, referencing how Endeavor back then neglected and ignored Toya and is now going to give him all of his attention now as a raging Toya makes his way to his father. Before heading to the coffin in the sky, the anime actually doesn't adapt the first page of chapter 377. This, I feel, was rightfully cut as it's pretty clear that the villains now have the upper hand, but who knows, this could potentially show up in the beginning of episode 17. Back at the coffin in the sky, Aizawa sees Present Mic coming out of the warp gate and knows that Shirakumo has been awakened. Twice clones begin popping out of a second portal, swarming the heroes and pushing down Monoma, forcing him to lose eye contact on Shigaraki, effectively cutting off the effects of erasure on Shigaraki. Unfortunately, the majority of this was reduced to a slideshow with a few added shots, and I won't lie, it was a little jarring to see that compared to the rest of the episode. As this happens, in an absolutely beautiful scene, Shigaraki bursts out of his own stomach, similar to a xenomorph chest burster from the Alien franchise, essentially shedding his old damaged form in this grand rebirth of himself. A massive explosion follows as below the UA campus we see that everything is beginning to lose function. Mandalay relays to the others that they have lost flight control, as we see Skeptic from the villain cave has hacked into the heroes' systems. Mandalay lets the heroes know about the control center being overran by Twice clones and Erasure no longer being active, leading to the deadliest villain of all time to be unleashed. She states that once UA falls, all of Japan and the rest of the world will be destroyed by the hands of Shigaraki. Deku, exhausted from the use of gear shift, wonders if Shigaraki is shedding his skin, as Shigaraki uses his shed skin as his new cape. Shigaraki says to Deku, "What if I told you that it's me here now?" Him, of course, referencing that Shigaraki is now in control of his own body instead of All For One. He continues saying, "What would you want to do? Sit down for a chat at the mall?" Shigaraki here calling back to when he confronted Deku at the Wookiees shopping mall and had sat down for a chat. Shigaraki states that it ain't happening, hero. After all, I'm your villain. Deku, now knowing that this is indeed the Shigaraki persona that is now in control of the body. Skeptic, having hacked into everything, begins the fall of UA. Deku thinks to himself that if the school comes crashing down, then Creati and everyone below will perish, as the anime adds in a shot showing those below UA. So he needs to keep UA in the air, while at the same time keeping an eye on Kurogiri so that Shigaraki cannot escape. This all being way too much for Deku to handle, as he can't breathe thanks to the blowback from gear shift. Since his cells don't get a second to rest, his body can't get enough oxygen in. The second says Deku can't fall just yet. All For One is having serious problems keeping the Shigaraki and All For One identities unified. With One For All resonating with All For One, the vestiges from each quirk can look into the other, and at the moment All For One is in no position to take possession over Shigaraki's body, and Deku needs to do whatever it takes to make his body move fast, as everything leading up to this moment will be his power. Back to Skeptic, one of his monitors begins glitching out, and it's revealed that Brava was the one hacking into Skeptic's system from the Task Force HQ. This of course marks her return to the series since the Culture Festival. At the Task Force HQ, Brava slowly replaces all of his screens with a dancing optic kitty, as it's revealed that she once hacked into Feel Good Inc.'s servers, the company that Skeptic used to work for. Skeptic grabs some of his systems to relocate, as he doesn't plan on handing over the UA or the evacuation system to Brava. One of the officers notes that UA's altitude is still dropping and needs Brava to bring the UA system back up. Brava states that the explosion caused by Shigaraki wrecked the system, and she is trying to code a whole new program so that the surviving section of the UA system can keep UA in the air, but she isn't going to make it in time. Another officer states that they shouldn't have left this up to a convicted villain, and Tsukauchi, thinking of Aoyama, defends Brava by saying that a crime is a crime and they can't erase the past, but it's not always always a lost cause. Meaning that just because someone did something bad, it doesn't mean that overall makes them a bad person. Showing that villains can be reformed into someone that can be a hero. Back at UA, Deku and Shigaraki stare at each other as they both recover. Mandalay lets everyone know to prepare for a crash landing as they head out to see the swarm of Twice clones. Ethan and the others can't use the lasers from their X66s due to the possibility of hitting the heroes in and around the Twice clones, and Ethan sees off to the side a man bouncing on air. Skeptic, running out of the cave, gets confronted by a group of heroes as Brava had given them his location. Tsukuichi looks at a monitor and says it's up to you, Tobita, as it's revealed that Gentle is back to aid the heroes in the war. Gentle says of course, as this is the least he owes Deku. It turns out that about a month earlier, after the attack on Tartarus, Muscular has set the prisoners of the Mikuzu prison free. In the anime, Muscular leaves in a regular looking helicopter, but in the manga he actually leaves in one of the helicopters that was taken from Tartarus. The prisoners, all excited to be free again, begins walking towards their freedom, but Gentle stands in their way and asks them if this is truly what they all desire. He thinks back to when he first got arrested and Gori telling him that the people who say they can't turn their lives around are the ones with no real desire to change and are too impatient and want results right away. Gentle reflects on how he had made a mistake in the path he took and how he didn't have the courage to stop what he was doing back then. The prisoners all attack Gentle as they want to be free, and Gentle remembers Deku telling him that he wanted to become someone who can show the world a bright future, and Gentle, determined, takes on all of the prisoners alone. By morning, Gori walks up to a fatigued Gentle and states that 7 prisons were attacked, but Mizuku was the only prison to not have any jailbreakers. As we see behind Gentle lies all of the prisoners defeated and captured. Gori asks Gentle what does he want, and Gentle replies with wishing to see La Brava and to repay Deku. In a truly heartfelt moment, La Brava tells Gentle that she thought she would be happy if she could just be with him, as the anime adds in an amazing shot of Gentle and La Brava reuniting after the prison break. She continues saying she's greedy because his joy brings her even more joy of her own. The two of them then say that absence from one another makes the heart grow that much fonder for each other. In an amazing scene, Gentle in his lover state uses Gently Super Lover to form a giant air trampoline, catching and slowing down UA as Might You plays in the background. He then thinks about Deku and if he's still fighting for the sake of someone's smile. He remembers how back then he only wanted to help someone who had fallen, and to this day there was no lie in how he felt. The anime then adds in a scene of Gentle putting his all in saving Deku and the heroes from plummeting into the earth and stops UA from falling. Mandalay relays to the heroes that they stopped falling as the air turned into something like a trampoline. Deku, hearing this, realizes that it's Gentle. Crying, Gentle states that all he wanted was to help and be of service to others, to be a hero. Deku begins tearing up, with the 5th telling Deku that Shigaraki has started to move, and if Shigaraki's hand touches the ground, it's over. Before the 5th can even finish his sentence, Shigaraki's hand gets shot off and he takes a bullet to the head. Deku sees that the bullet is made from purple and pink hair and is surprised. Shigaraki's hand falls to the ground and Deku looks off into the distance. Tsukuichi states that no matter how far they go, villains are still human, and it's on them to recognize that part of them. He then quotes All Might, as All Might had already left Task Force HQ with his briefcase in hand. He states we need to look deep into their hearts for their origins. The episode ends with the return of the lovely Lady Nagant, who is all the way on top of the central hospital, bandaged up, taking aim at Shigaraki, proving that she is the best when it comes to range. Now, this episode covered about 3 chapters, them being the last 2 pages of chapter 375, all of chapters 376, 377, and 378. This episode was amazing, and it brought back 3 fan favorite characters, and I just love the way that they made Gentle's return such a huge moment for his character, and the impact it had on Deku, and the overall theme of your mistakes not defining who who you are. It was so emotional, and the anime really delivered on the emotions, and I can't wait for the next episode. Let me know your thoughts on the episode. Did they cook with the changes? Let me know everything in the comment section below. With that said, if you enjoyed the video, then be sure to Detroit, smash that like button, and if you are new to the Kiroki channel, then be sure to subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so that you don't miss any My Hero Academia Season 7 breakdowns. With that said, I'll see you all in the next one.